Hello, loves. In today's video, I'm going to address one of the most frequent questions I get from makers about taking product photos for different platforms. A lot of times they will take product photos, they go to upload them, and their product gets cut out of the display image, or they don't see the whole image, or it's getting cropped kind of funny, and they wonder why. So each platform has specific image requirements, and that's because the way that images display on their site is personal to each platform. So let's take a look at Etsy quick. Here's an example. The seller posted a photo of a wedding cake topper, and part of the product is getting cut out of the image. So if we click into this listing, you will see that this image was taken in a vertical orientation, so more height than width. Okay. And same if we look at, let's go Imagine site. Now, while the product's not actually getting necessarily cut out, because more than likely the product is the clay earrings, right? If we still go into this listing, we will notice that there is a portion of the image that is getting cut out. Again, this is a vertical orientation. There's more height than there is width to the product. So what typically happens if you are a smartphone camera user, it's just second nature for you to grab your smartphone, you pick it up and you start shooting like this, right? This would be considered a portrait / vertical orientation. There is more height than there is width. So this option doesn't always work, especially for selling platforms, because most selling platforms prefer the landscaped or horizontal orientation to your images. Vertical images are great for Pinterest, but I'm going to show you how shooting landscape, so picking up your phone and actually turning it sideways to shoot, will be more versatile than shooting like this. Same goes if you're shooting with a DSLR camera. Shooting with a DSLR camera, you want to be picking it up and shooting like this. This will create that horizontal image, where if you turn it this way, that's where you're going to get that vertical portrait style image. So if you're currently taking your product photos and then you're uploading them to a platform like Etsy, Go Imagine, or Amazon, or even potentially Shopify, and your actual image is getting cut out or cropped in a weird way, or more importantly, your actual product is getting cut out in the display inside the platform, and you want to go back to how you're actually shooting your photos. You want to be picking up your phone and turning it and shooting landscape versus vertical. Okay, you want to be shooting this way. This is the most versatile option to meet platform recommendations. And you might be asking, why is this important? So again, if we were searching for a wedding cake topper and we came across this image, so two things are going to happen. One, somebody's going to look over it because it doesn't have the whole product there, or they're going to click into it so they can actually see your product. And if they do that and realize the product's not for them, then they're going to back out and they're going to go back to here, which is going to hurt your conversion rate. So it's really important that you show exactly what they're going to receive. The whole product is in the thumbnail image and it's being displayed properly so that you aren't getting those false clicks, which will be hurting your conversion rate. So as I mentioned earlier, each platform does have their own image size recommendations. So you can typically search those, what their recommendations are and best practices. This is for Etsy specifically. So if you go to Etsy, you'll see their image recommendations. If we go down to the listing image thumbnail, which will be the image that displays in search and on your main shop page, they're recommending an aspect ratio of 4:3. I have done, which I'm going to show you guys here in a minute. I test this often, and the only way that it displays at a 4:3 aspect ratio is actually on Android devices. So on Apple products like the iPhone or a Mac, and on PC, it's still displayed at a 5:4 aspect ratio. So 5:4 is still the recommendation that I use when it comes to Etsy. Recommendations for Go Imagine, if you're looking at product images, is also a 5:4 aspect ratio. So what does that mean? So I want you to think about the aspect ratio as basically the shape of how the image is displayed on the homepage of the platform and on your shop's homepage. So the aspect ratio is essentially, it can be written as 5:4, 5 units in width for every 4 units in height. Most often you will see it written as a 5:4 like this. And essentially what that is, it's the width times the height. Okay. So this is a fixed ratio. We're not going to get into pixel dimensions at this point, but as long as you crop with a fixed ratio of the platform's recommendation, then if you go to adjust the pixel dimensions on one of these, it's going to automatically adjust the other. We'll get to that in another video. What you need to understand is technically on a portrait, this would be considered a 4:5 because it's width times height. So every 4 units in width, we have 5 units in height. So if you see it written as a 5:4 aspect ratio, we automatically know that our width is going to be wider than our height because this is width times height. And that's how it's set up. So that's the first thing to recognize. It's the same with pixel dimensions. If it says like 2000 on the shortest side, so you're seeing 2500 by 2000, then we know that it's a landscape or horizontal image because we have a higher number on the width portion, meaning it's wider than it is in height. So I want you to think about the way your image is displayed on a website, just like you would display your images in a home on your wall with frames. Okay, so if you go and you take a picture, and the reason I want to touch on this, but the reason that a lot of times vertical is considered portrait is because we shoot portraits of people a lot of times in that vertical position because of the height of people, right? So we have more height to us than we do width. So portrait just works for people. When it comes to landscape, the same concept is true for shooting landscape. So for shooting a picture outdoors of a beautiful mountain range and a lake in front of it, more than likely that picture is going to be better shot horizontal with a wider width because our setting is wider. So that's kind of where they get the terminology with that. So if you are shooting a picture to hang in your house, you are going to have to essentially fit the shape of that image into the frame that you've purchased. So I want you to think about the way that your image is going to display on a website the same way as you would take an image and display it inside of a frame on your wall in your house. So think about that aspect ratio. That's the size of the frame that you have to be able to fit your image into to display it properly on, say, Etsy or GoImagine, or on Amazon and Shopify, you'd be fitting it into a square frame. So it's just a shape, and you want to make sure that your image is the same shape so it displays exactly like it would when you take the photo, so that they're seeing what you're seeing. That is the point in making those aspect ratio adjustments in editing. So if you pick up your phone and you shoot vertically like this is an image that would come out of here. And if you're shooting on iPhone specifically, you're going to get a 4:3 aspect ratio straight from the iPhone. So I went ahead and edited this I cropped it. So when you're talking about aspect ratio, that's actually cropping. So I went into editing software and I chose to crop it, and I chose a 5:4 aspect ratio. So this is a 5:4 aspect ratio vertical. Okay, so we take this image and we insert it into a vertical frame. Okay, because again, we're just thinking about the way that our images are displayed on Etsy or GoImagine as like a frame, just like that would be on the wall of our house. It works great. But if I take that same vertical image that I had shown you previously and I insert it into a landscape, look at how much of the actual product is getting cut out. You can even see some of it hanging over down here at the bottom. But if I pick up my phone and I turn it sideways and I actually shoot horizontally in landscape, this is the image I would get directly from my phone. Again, it would be a 4:3 aspect ratio directly from the phone. So I cropped this to a 5:4. But if I take that now, look at the versatility of it. So I can still insert that horizontal image and I can create a vertical image out of it. It's just going to crop off the sides. It cropped out here and it cropped out here, and it works as a landscape. So it's more versatile. So we can use this to match our shape for Etsy, for Go Imagine, for Amazon, for Shopify. And then it's still versatile enough to turn around and use it for like Pinterest pins, which would be vertical. So while some platforms, they will give you image requirements, like I said, I always test them. And if you can't find information, here's a quick and easy way to do that. Okay, so I did a screenshot of the Etsy search page. Okay, and I've pulled it into Photoshop Elements, and we're going to go to crop. And I have already in there, I have a width of 5x4. And I'm just going to grab this corner and I'm going to test it. Okay, so you can test. I probably pulled a little too much there, but you can test the aspect ratio and how things are displayed just by going in and doing a crop overlay. So if I go down here and I change this to a 4:3 aspect ratio, and I go to do a crop overlay, we know that this is not displaying at a 4:3 because this bottom portion is getting cut out. Okay, so that shows me, even while Etsy is recommending a 4:3, their images on Apple and PC are still displayed at a 5:4 aspect ratio. Here's a screenshot from Go Imagine. So we're going to do the same thing. Now, Go Imagine does tell you that they prefer a 5:4 aspect ratio, that's how their images are displayed. So again, we can test this. We have a 5:4 written in for the crop. And we're going to just pull this down and look at that. It's displayed at a 5:4. Here's one I took from Amazon. So I know that Amazon is a square. So we're going to do a 5x5. And if we grab that and pull it down, you will see that it's displayed as a square. And this dimension can be anything. We can put a 1x1 in there. Don't let that confuse you or trip you up. Okay, even if we did 1 inch by 1 inch, the ratio, remember it's a shape ratio. So for every 1 unit on this side, we have 1 unit on this side. So before with the 5:5, if we have 5 units on this side, we have 5 units in height as well. Okay, so it's just a ratio. It keeps that shape proportion. And that'll help when we get into resizing. Resizing is a 3-step process, and I have videos available for that. Check the description of this video if you want to learn more about the entire 3-step process of resizing your images to meet platform recommendations. Everything I'm talking about today is just step 1, which is adjusting your aspect ratio, which is cropping your image to the right shape so that it displays properly when you upload it to each platform. So if your images are getting cut out when they go to display on Etsy, Go Imagine, Amazon, Shopify, any selling platform, the first thing that you want to do is start shooting. Pick up your phone and you're going to turn it and you're going to shoot horizontally in landscape so you can get the most versatile option for cropping. Please take the time to like this video if you found it useful, and hit that subscribe button if you want to learn more about creating visual content for your handmade business. And if you aren't already a member, make sure you join my free Facebook group, Product Photography for Makers, at productphotographyhelp.com. I'll post a link in the description below this video. And if you want to learn 3 simple and powerful ways to attract more customers and make more sales for your handmade shop, check out my free course, Attract More, Sell More, at attractmoresellmore.com. And I'll put a link in the description below this video. Handmade is you.